Okay. Okay, so this is the first question. Which point on the y-axis lies on the line that passes through point C and is perpendicular to AB? Alright, so here's one of the key things that you need to know for this little unit. Parallel and perpendicular lines. So here's an example of parallel lines. Now the way their slopes work, if lines are parallel, their slopes are the same. So I'm going to use M for slope. So if this lower line has a slope of, say, 2/3,
Yeah.
then the upper line will also have a slope of 2/3. Alright? Parallel lines have the same slope.
Hang on, Mr. Byrne.
No problem, no problem.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So now let's talk about perpendicular lines.
Alright.
Okay. Alright, this is a little bit more complicated. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite and reciprocal. Opposite and reciprocal. Okay, that means, for example, if the pink line had a slope of 2/3, first of all, the yellow line would have a slope that involved 3/2. That's the reciprocal part, right? 2/3, 3/2, just turn it upside down. But also, when I say opposite, I mean one of them is going to be positive and one will be negative. So if one slope is positive 2/3, the other slope will be negative 3/2. Okay, a couple more examples. Okay, so let's say the pink line had a slope of 3. So in your mind you should be thinking, well, technically that's like having 3/1. So the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. And again, one would be positive and one would be negative. Okay? So let me start with the negative one first this time. So say if this had a slope of -5, then the other one would be positive 1/5. Okay, so that's how perpendicular slopes work. So as we look at this equation, as soon as I see him talking about perpendicular lines, then I'm thinking about that whole thing about opposite and reciprocal. So the line that we have, so let's see what the original slope is. It's going down and over, down and over. Okay, so it's going down 3 and over 1. Down 3 over 1. So that original slope is -3/1, or I could have just said -3. Okay, now if I have a perpendicular line, which is what they're asking me for, then I'm going to have to do opposite and reciprocal. Alright, so the reciprocal of this would be 1/3. And since the original one was negative, then I'm going to need a positive 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that my slope goes up 1/3. Now it's supposed to go through the point C, so I might as well start here and go up 1/3, rise over run. So it's a little bit tricky because if I go up 1/3, that actually takes me a little bit off the graph. but that's okay. I'm going to go in the other direction. In the other direction, it would be down 1, left 3. And that I can continue. Down 1, left 3. Down 1, left 3. Okay? Anyway, so what are they asking us? What is the point on the y-axis? So you can see where it hit. It's right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it touches the y-axis at the point 0, 2. Okay? Did that make sense?
Yes.
Before we go any further, let me add one more thing to your brain about slopes of these lines.
Right.
Okay? And that's just your basic concept of positive and negative. If I just draw a line for you like this, boom. Do you know whether or not this is a positive slope or a negative slope?
I don't recall.
Okay, so here's the deal. Here's one line. Now here's another line. Okay, now one of these is positive and one of them is negative. And the way you can tell without any numbers is you read it from left to right, the way you read a book. All right, now from left to right, one of these is going uphill. That would be the positive one. And one of them is going downhill. So which one of these lines has a positive slope?
Would that be the purple one?
Okay, from left to right, it's like if you were a person like standing on this thing, if you were moving to the right,
Yeah.
okay, would you wind up going uphill or downhill?
You're going down here.
You wind up going downhill. So if you're going downhill, then that is a negative slope.
Okay.
Okay? So the purple one, because of the way it's going from left to right, it's going downhill. So that's negative. On the other hand, if you're a person walking on this like a mountain trail, if you're trying to go to the right, okay, you're trying to get to the right, but obviously as you go to the right, you're going to wind up going up this hill. So that tells you that you're looking at a positive slope. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so just keep that in mind as we do everything, because, you know, at a glance, you know, before I do anything else, this blue line, is this a positive slope or a negative slope that's given to us?
Negative.
It's negative. I see it's going downhill from left to right. So that just helps me. I always double check that. So when I came up with the slope of -3, sometimes the most common mistake really is that students will give me a +3 by accident just in their calculations. But if you know right from the start, oh, it's downhill, it should be negative, then you'll just make sure that it really turns out to be negative. Okay, which point is on the line that passes through point H and is perpendicular to FG? Just practicing what we talked about a moment ago. Look at this blue line FG. Is this a positive slope or a negative slope?
Positive.
It's positive. So whatever else I do, I'm going to make sure that I write a positive slope. So as I explore the slope of this thing, it helps me to sort of see where it hits, like right on the grid lines. So I'm going to add an extra point in here. So as I travel, I'm thinking rise and run. So it seems to be going up 3 and then over 4. And then again up 3 over 4. So that means that the blue slope is 3 over 4. And we knew it would be positive, so it just takes the pressure off knowing ahead of time.
Yeah.
Now they're talking perpendicular. Okay, so here again, what would be the slope of a perpendicular line?
4 over 3.
4 over 3. And there's something else I have to change about it. All right? Because it's got to be opposite and reciprocal. So we've done the reciprocal, but if the first one is positive, then the perpendicular one has to be negative. Okay? So I know I'm dealing with a negative 4 over 3, which again, at a glance, means that it should be going downhill. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Should be going downhill. So I'm going to do this slope, and I've got it. It tells me I have to use point H. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to point H, and now I'm going to do negative 4 over 3, which means down 4 over 3. I should say this to you. Anytime I'm dealing with a slope, you know, we're doing rise over run, but the bottom number is always to the right. If it's positive, we'll go up and to the right. If it's negative, we'll go down and to the right. But we always go to the right. Okay, so this is negative 4 over 3. So it's down 4, right 3. Okay, and again, it's a little bit off the grid, but I'm going to deal with it. So it's down 4, right 3 would be like here. Now if I go the other way, it would be up 4, left 3. And that I have a little space for that. So I'm going to go up 4, and then left 3. And then up 1, 2, 3, 4, and left 3. Okay, so these lines show me what's going on. Okay, so they're asking me which one of these points gets hit, and you know, I'll ignore. I'm sure it's not going to be one of the ones that's not even on the graph, but you know, and it's probably not going to be point H because they gave it that to us. So I'm going to start by looking at the other two. This point right here, I've got 0, 2, so that could have been it. This one right here is negative 6, 10. Okay, and then I look and see, and negative 6, 10 is on the list. Okay, and it's the only, like these other two, the other options don't match any of these four. Okay, and that's it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, okay, everything is as shown. Which statements are true about these lines? Check all that apply. All right. It looks like you had everything right except for the last one. Okay, so let's just talk about that. Line SW is perpendicular to line RS, but not line TV. You know what? We never actually talked about what the word perpendicular means. We just started talking about slopes. So let me just make this super clear. Lines that are perpendicular, they meet at a 90-degree angle. Okay, so if this green line is going to be perpendicular to this pink line, it means, by definition, that they form a right angle, a 90-degree angle. Okay, so line SW is perpendicular to RS. Let's check that part so far. Okay, so line SW is perpendicular to line RS. Is that true so far?
RS isn't.
RS, or like, are these two yellow lines that I just highlighted, are they perpendicular?
No.
They actually are perpendicular because because remember, perpendicular, we're asking ourselves, is it a 90-degree angle? You know what I mean? Like, basically, does it make a square?
So the square would be the S, like right there.
Yeah, like right here where they meet. Okay, like this is it's a right angle. You know what I mean? It's not like like this would be an obtuse angle if it did that, or if it did like one of these, this would be an acute angle. But if it meets perfectly, like if you got a horizontal and a vertical, that's a perfect 90-degree angle. So RS is horizontal, SW is vertical. That's a perfect square. That's a perfect 90-degree angle. So that part is true so far. So far that would be a check mark. But then it says, but not TV. Okay, so let's look at that. Is SW perpendicular to TV? So there's SW, here's TV. All right, are those perpendicular? Yeah, theirs are perpendicular also. So that's why the question is wrong, because it said, is it true that it's perpendicular to one but not the other? And the reality is it's perpendicular to both. So that's why this is false. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, a line has this slope. All right, which ordered pairs could be points on a line that is perpendicular to this line? Check all that apply. Oh, okay, so they're just giving us pairs of lines. Okay, so they're giving us the original slope of -4/5. Okay, now they're using this word perpendicular. So tell me, what would be the slope of a perpendicular line to this one?
That would be 5/4. Positive.
Perfect. It would be positive 5/4, opposite in sign and reciprocal. So, okay, so if any points that are on this pink line have to form a slope of positive 5/4. So all we have to do is check the slopes and see, are they giving us positive 5/4? Okay, so let's use the slope formula. Okay, rise over run becomes y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, y minus y over x minus x. That's your slope. So if I check each one of these one at a time, so for the first pair, that would be y minus y, that's 5 minus 0. X minus x, that's 2 minus -2. All right, be careful to include both negatives, all right? The negative from the formula and the negative from the number. Okay, so 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus -2 is the same as 2 plus 2.
That's 4.
And that's 4. So boom, 5/4. So that's why that one is in. And we just do that repeatedly, okay? So looking at the next one, and we'll just do this one more, and because you got the rest of them right. But this one right here, so again, y minus y. So if I do -5 minus 5, okay, and I'm going to do 4 minus -4, double negative. Okay, -5 minus 5, that's -10. And again, minus a negative is addition. So that's going to be 8. And this reduces. If I divide both of these by 2, I get -5/4. I like the 5/4 part,
But not the negative.
but not the negative. Okay, that's why that one's a no.
Yep.
Okay. Which line is perpendicular to a line that has slope? Blah. Well, perpendicular. One more time. You know, so this is our original slope. Okay, and I'll switch to pink for the perpendicular slope. All right, so tell me the slope of a perpendicular line.
So that would be over 5.
It would be 6 over 5. So basically they're saying which one of these lines has slope 6 over 5. Now remember what we talked about, positive versus negative. At a glance, which of these colors are positive slopes?
That would be the green one and the red one.
The green one and the red one. So immediately we can forget about the blue and the purple. They're gone. Alright, so we just focus on the green and the red, and now we're just going to count and see which one does 6 over 5. Okay, so might as well start with the green one. Okay, so they've got a dot waiting for us here and a dot waiting for us here, so I'm just going to count. So if I go up, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like the green one wins right there. So that's LM. So that's why LM is the answer. But let's follow through and look at the other one.
Yep.
Okay. So this one, they have a nice dot for us here and here. So if I trace that out, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was 5 over 6, not 6 over 5. So that's why that's a no. And of course, like the PQ and the JK, they were no's immediately because they were negative.